Dignity in death. Every individual on his passing should get a proper burial or cremation, be it any religion. The congregation of the next of kin, the remembrance of the deceased, and the prayers of the deliverance of the deceased's soul from God is expected and is looked for by the family members. Thus, an adequate space separate from the modernity of today's lifestyle and a callback to the traditional rites of passage and deliverance becomes mandatory. The current design of crematoriums sanctioned by the government are minimal and can only accommodate the final funeral rite of the deceased, that being the cremation or the burial, with no proper space for congregation, remembrance, and acceptance. The funeral of the deceased gets tainted, and the spiritual acceptance for the family members is not fully attained. The aim of the research is to develop an architectural response to the existing funerary design aesthetic by proposing an adequately designed space for funeral practices. The topic is aptly named Dignity in Death, and the research looks into the meanings and application of both these terms. Firstly, what constitutes as death, and then how its dignity is lost or achieved. The dissertation is divided into 6 chapters that look into it stage-wise. Starting with the first chapter with the first keyword, the question arises as to what is death, and following it, the question of what comes after it. Religions, through their many centuries of existence, have come up with metaphors and explanations as to what death is and what comes after it. For some beliefs, death of an individual means a transition to a rebirth as another individual. This paves the path for its death, thus repeating the cycle for eternity. Another belief is that death is a state of rest, till a phenomena causes the person to arise from this state. Some faiths even show death as a transition to other realms. There exist many such explanations for the same. This should mean that for a dignified death ceremony is to follow what the religion demands for the person's funeral. Shown here is the funeral custom for Hindus, and along with it, its relation to the architectural spaces. After the death of an individual, the first step is the cleansing and preparation of the body. This is done by the same gendered members of the family who prepare the body for public viewing. The space is within the confines of one's own house. The congregation of people around the body marked in red to the family members next to the body, followed by everyone seated in front of it. The section highlights the space in detail, where visitors come, give eulogies, and last respects to the dead. The second step is to transport the body to the crematorium, where the body is set on a funeral pyre and the eldest son takes the charge of the final rites. The space associated with the activity is supposed to be open and barren. The congregation shows people huddled around the body, while allowing space for the son to conduct the funeral. The space is open so that the smoke exhausts naturally. The third and final step comes later when the ashes from the funeral pyre are scattered in a water body. A ghat-like area is preferred, so the son steps into the water and the family members stay back and pray for the salvation of the soul. The stepped ghats allow for easy scattering of the ashes. Similar analysis was done for other religions as well. For Jains, that follow preparation of the body, then the cremation, and then the burial of the ashes. Buddhists hold funeral services after which the dead can either be cremated or buried. Christians hold funeral service in a church, followed by the transportation to a cemetery and finally being buried. Jews also hold funeral services, transport the dead to the cemetery, and then finally bury the body. For Muslims, they prepare the body, hold prayers in the mosque garden, followed by the burial. For Sikhs, they first prepare the body, arrange a funeral service, followed by the cremation ceremony. For Zoroastrians, they prepare the body and hold 2 separate funeral rites at the house and at the prayer hall, followed by abandoning the body in the Tower of Silence to be consumed by scavengers. After understanding how religions dignify the death of an individual, it is important to understand how this affects the surrounding ecology. For cremations, cremations annually consume 50 to 60 million trees in India, while releasing 8 million tons of CO2, which is equal to the annual exhaust of about 2000 cars. A traditional cremation for a human of average weight nearly equals to 500 kgs of wood, which amounts to the weight of 7 average men. Still, cremations can be made sustainable by substituting the fuel source to electricity, CNG, to even cow dung and agricultural waste. Cremations are preferred as they completely annihilate any pathogen in the body and stop the spread of diseases. Burials affect underground water reservoirs the worst. In about 20 years, they completely pollute the reservoir, spreading pathogens and making recharge wells unusable. Globally, a million acres of wood is cut for making caskets annually, amounting to 30 times the area of Mumbai. Closed casket funerals also permanently make the ground useless, as decomposition takes virtually forever. However, making small changes like choosing compostable caskets and choosing natural burials can go a long way in reducing the harm to the sensitive ecology. After knowing the ecological impact, it is crucial to understand the economical sector in funerals for Chapter 3. Now, looking at the minimum cost for a traditional funeral. For Hindus, more than 70% of the budget is dedicated to acquiring of wood. Other expenses included required samagri, caretaker's fee, and other rituals, which amounted to a minimum of 4,000 rupees. For Christian funerals, major chunks of the budget gets utilized in obtaining a casket and booking a grave, which takes up a combined total of 80%. Other parts of the budget is utilized for hiring of priests, arranging feasts, and flower arrangements, bringing the total to about 8,000 rupees. Muslim burials see a major chunk of about 46% for hiring of personnel for digging and helping with the burial. Other expenses include flowers, scents, and the holy shroud that envelops the body, bringing the total to about 7,500. Government subsidized electric, gas, and cheaper wood cremation systems range from about 1,000 to 3,000 rupees. After studying the minimum cost, it begs to ask the question, can an average Indian even afford to provide their loved one a decent funeral? And are our funerals affordable? The answer points it to be barely. The World Bank's estimate shows India's average annual disposable income ranges from about rupees 70,000 to rupees 2,73,000. For a person earning 70,000 or less yearly, planning a funeral costing about 5 to 10,000 can really set them back financially and even putting them in situations of debt. In the fourth chapter, the dissertation concentrates on the relationship shared between funerals and the people involved with it. The study divides the people in three categories. Number one, people that live in the immediate surrounding of a funeral building. Second, the family and friends of the deceased who visit this building. And third, the workers in this funeral building. To understand the concerns of the people living near a crematorium, a case study of Shirvane Crematorium in Juinagar, Navi Mumbai was chosen. The crematorium sees itself in the center of the map, flanked by public spaces in the north and the south. Still, within 250 meters of the site, residential areas are present. This makes them susceptible to many complications, some of which can be respiratory diseases due to the smoke, pollution of water reservoirs in and around the site, mental trauma because of witnessing cremations every day. High heat can make it uncomfortable for people living nearby. Burial grounds can be carrier of pathogens and can even attract wild animals. The design considerations derived from the earlier study are that crematoriums shouldn't be planned near freshwater sources that are used for drinking purposes. For the air quality, chimneys and filters are a must. Funeral buildings should be planned near industrial and commercial areas for their low population densities, which rhymes with the point saying that residential settlements should be planned far off from a mortuary. A funeral building should have thick and lush greenery surrounding it. And finally, funeral buildings should be a place of acceptance and not just scary reminders of death. For the family and friends of the deceased, this set of users visit a funeral building to provide a dignified death ceremony for their loved ones. They are the crucial members for the functioning of a crematorium. However, they go through many ill practices, some of which are being forced to go for affluent funerals. For a poorer individual, a compulsion like this can cause them great inconvenience. Forced to go to pilgrimages on advice of a priest or as a part of the deceased's last wishes. Expensive rituals like Gaudan, bribery, and peddling of premium wood as a more dignified funeral. Design considerations from the earlier findings are to design a funeral building that allows for appropriate funeral practices. It should have spaces for remembrance and other related ceremonies. It should provide for spaces that allow the user to rest. It should have spaces that can accommodate congregation of all sizes. It must have spaces for eating after the funeral ceremony. It should provide spaces for washing up, changing before or after the funeral service. It should also have spaces that promote knowledge and education. And finally, it should have spaces for natural healing. To understand the condition of a crematorium worker in the time of high demand during the pandemic, we look at the case study of Ramanand Sarkar in Assam. Crematorium workers did not receive proper PPE kits while working, with some being as late as April 2020 to provide masks and gloves. For Sarkar, the day starts early at 6 and can last late into the night. Since being on duty, any COVID related dead body has to be cremated immediately. Sarkar's family lives in a remote village in Assam. Stuck in lockdown, Sarkar found it difficult as he was not able to send them money for their daily needs. The government provided isolation areas were insufficient, ill furnished, and completely crowded. Also, rampant alcohol and drug use is common in crematorium workers. From the findings of the study, the design considerations for a funeral building are it should have appropriate workspaces. It should provide spaces for rest and breakout. Spaces should be provided for the workers to cook and eat their own food. If possible, appropriate living quarters should be provided. Also, spaces offering medical support to the workers is extremely crucial. With the knowledge of the shortcomings of a funeral building, the study in Chapter 5 now looks at other examples of funeral buildings and how they address these issues. Public Crematorium for GKD Charity Trust, Coimbatore, designed by Mancini Enterprises. The building brings a sense of harmony of natural and landscape elements with wild grass-like landscape in and around the funeral spaces. The design provides spaces of visual and physical texture, along with it places to sit, escape, and walk through one structure to another. The building facade looks like fingers crossed in a position of prayer, and the jali-like patterns help let in light and natural wind. Second, Ashwini Kumar Crematorium in Surat by Matharu Associates. The crematorium's need arose after many communal riots that plagued the city of Surat. The crematorium makes a statement that it is made to be inclusive to anyone and everyone who wants a cremation type of funeral. It keeps gas cremations as the primary method, moving away from traditional norms without confining to one religion. The planning of the structure is sharp and clear, one space intersecting and always forming visual connections with one another. The grass crematoriums have a circular wall, similar to a palm protecting a flame, that gives privacy to the people attending a funeral. All funerals take place with the river Tapi in the backdrop. Lastly, Mahaprasthanam Crematorium in Hyderabad by DA Studios. The design achieves clear symbolism in its form and clarity in its structure that anyone entering its chambers can decipher. No part of the crematorium is left blank. Shlokas adorn different walls that talk about life, its purpose, and one's duty, making the crematorium seem much more than just a place for death. Landscaping in the structure is made to be lush and thick, instilling a more cheery and positive mood for the user. After studying about architectural spaces, Chapter 6 of the dissertation now looks at site selection and its analysis. Mathura is a holy city in the southwest of Uttar Pradesh, India. Considered a place of pilgrimage, it attains this in connections to Lord Krishna, who was known to be born and spent his adolescence in. Mathura and Vrindavan both are equally revered in the Hindu mythology and have over 50 temples and ashrams dedicated to him. The religious concentration in Mathura is dominated by Hindus by 91%, making them the primary users for the funeral building. Along with the people of Mathura, the context involves another group of users called the widows of Vrindavan. They are women who have made their homes in the cities of Vrindavan and Mathura, along with an estimated population of 12,000 women in Vrindavan and close to 5,000 in the city of Mathura. About them, they live a life of poverty with no employable skills. Pre existing cultural stereotypes label them as untouchables. The only way of earning money or food for them is through singing, playing instruments, cleaning, and begging in temples and ashrams. They usually get forgotten in a city that has high rents and forces them to live in crowds. They are highly vulnerable to sex trade and exploitation, often succumbing to diseases like tuberculosis, asthma, HIV, and AIDS. No form of support provided has been able to make conditions better for all these women, and even after their death, even a proper cremation is not provided, with usually their bodies getting discarded. Talking about the demographics, a massive 74% of the women come from West Bengal. 78% of the women are widows. The married women live with their sickly ill husbands. Illiteracy makes a high number of 89% of the women. In 2012, the High Court passed a law mandating the state government to provide housing and other facilities for the women, and along with it, a compulsory funeral service for them. Heading into the site study. The site is located in the city of Mathura, about 4 kilometers from the Mathura railway junction, adjacent to the Mathura military cantonment. Zooming in, the site highlighted in pink is surrounded by industrial zones on its northwest and southeast, with open recreational spaces to the west. The site is more than 1 kilometer away from any residential zones. All government offices to the south are also separated from the site, sharing no common entrances or pathways. Looking at the site, the main access is along its southern edge. Major winds in Mathura is from the north and monsoon winds coming in from the southeast. The presence of Yamuna River on its vicinity ensures an exchange of land and sea breezes during the days and nights. In the site, 60,770 square meters is reserved for a green area, which gives about 47,000 square meter of buildable space. In Mathura's building bylaws for religious structure, the usable FSI comes to about 0.25, making the usable area come to around 12,000 square meters. Formulating the design brief. The proposed crematorium should be able to provide parking for a funeral serving larger crowds. The administration and other spaces provide comfortable work conditions for the staff. Funeral spaces allow for the last rituals and the act of cremation. Amenities provided play a vital role during and after a funeral. All this brings the total built-up area to about 10,375 square meter, with the total program including the open spaces to about 16,205 square meter. In conclusion, the proposed site area and the design brief are derived from the problems discovered in the chapters 2 to 5, with an emphasis to make a crematorium more sensitive to all of its users. The proposal also puts more emphasis on electrical cremation and sustainable funeral pyres that use cow dung, agricultural waste to allow for affordable and ecologically sensible cremations. Finally, All these decisions and the choice of the program is made to serve as a blueprint that makes funeral a talking point and the encouragement for people to adopt these cremation methods in the future.